hear drivers talk about we're going too fast and we're doing this and we're doing that. Well, maybe we are. Maybe we're not. Do you want to race or don't you? I want to race.
Going green, this time 5, going green, this time 5. Bring them down.
Thousands of people from all over the country flocked to Mooresville, North Carolina on Monday to celebrate Dale Earnhardt Day at Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. Hello, everyone. I'm John Kernan. Welcome to a special 60-minute edition of RPM Tonight. Well, Dr. Jerry Punch was a close personal friend of the Intimidator, and he joins us now from DEI's headquarters in Mooresville, North Carolina. And, Doc, I guess even the people up there couldn't have expected the number of fans who showed up and turned out to celebrate on this day.
John, it's remarkable. You know, it is hard to believe that it has been over 14 months since we lost the man we all called the Intimidator, seven-time Winston Cup champion, Dale Earnhardt. And although we will always miss him, we are not here today to mourn his loss, but rather to celebrate his life. You see, on this day in 1951, in the tiny textile town of Kannapolis, North Carolina, Ralph and Martha Earnhardt gave birth to their third of 5 children. This would have been Dale's 51st birthday, and that is why we're here. We are joined now by the driver of the Budweiser Chevrolet, Dale Earnhardt Jr. And Dale, before we talk about your dad, let's ask how you're doing. You took a pretty hard lick yesterday. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. It was probably the hardest lick I've taken in my career, but bruised my ankle up a little bit, and but we're ready for Richmond.
What does this day mean for you? With all these people coming that thought so much of your father.
It's pretty amazing. I kind of been, in the background all day long watching things happen around here, and the fans have been here since probably 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, maybe earlier than that. But it's amazing. I can't really explain how it makes me feel, and I'm sure how it makes Teresa feel and the rest of the Earnhardt family. And Teresa was real adamant that he'd never be forgotten, and I don't think that by seeing these fans turn out today, it really just proves that I don't think he ever will.
No doubt about that. Junior, you spent a lot of time in the early years trying to establish your own identity, trying to be a little bit different. You had a different taste in music, different taste in clothing, even a distant taste in hair color at times. But in the past year, anybody who's watched you on the racetrack, and particularly those last laps at Talladega, says that every time they see you, you resemble him more and more each day. What was it about him, and what is it about you that makes you almost unbeatable on certain racetracks?
I don't know. I just when I watched him as a kid, I just was amazed at some of the things he could do on the track. And I just, me, just like every other aspiring race car driver, just want to be just like him. And so I always watched him as close as I could, just try to learn from him as much as I could. And now I'm able to make that work for me on the racetrack, and some of the things that he taught me. We never really had sit-downs where we discussed this race or that race or this move or that move. And I just watched him real close, and try to stay as close by his side as I could throughout his career.
I remember in the early years when you were winning Busch Series races and even the Winston Cup race at Richmond, your dad would dash into victory lane, lean down and whisper in your ear, and then he would be gone. And I remember I was close enough waiting to do the interview on ESPN to hear what he said, and he would always say the same things. He'd say, "I love you, I'm proud of you, and find a way home," because he didn't wait on anybody. He was pretty good at the post-race escape.
Yeah, you forgot to thank your sponsors. He always said that too. But yeah, he was a real proud father, but a car owner as well. I remember running in the Busch Series and winning races and winning championships, just how proud of an owner he was of his team, and how he was able, he was so proud of being a race car driver and winning race car driver, but the biggest obstacle or hurdle for him was to be a winning car owner. So that was something that he was very, very proud of.
Final question I've got to ask you. If he were standing here today, of all you've accomplished, what do you think he would be the most proud of?
That's hard to say. I think winning the 400 at Daytona, probably winning the Busch race there. The $1 million we won at Talladega last year. But my favorite memory, and I think one that he probably felt the same about, was the win at the Winston in my rookie season, because that was just surprised both of us, So it was a big win.
And I've got to believe your first Daytona 500 win is not that far away.
Hopefully not. I mean, we're knocking on the door just like everybody else, but we got a great shot at it. I can't wait.
Junior, I got to believe the family, your father watching from above, the fans, everyone are so proud of how you've carried on that wonderful Earnhardt tradition of winning. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I thank all these fans for showing up and everybody for tuning in on ESPN. Thanks a lot.
Well, John, a little later on in the show, we'll hear some very special words of tribute the son wrote about his famous father.
All right, Jerry, we're looking forward to that. And we'll also check back in with you in just a few minutes. Well, the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, of course, raced Sunday at the California Speedway. And once again, it was one of the young drivers who took center stage. Jimmy Johnson's crew chief, Chad Knaus, elected to take only fuel on the team's last pit stop. Johnson then motored around Bill Elliott on the final restart and pulled away to pick up his first win in just his 13th Winston Cup start.
The middle segment of the race, we were really loose, and it seemed when we put new tires on the first 5 or 6 laps that you'd get the benefit from that tire, the new tire. We were so loose, we were losing time. And when they were able to just put fuel only in the car and let me have the old tires that really weren't that old on there, I was able to get going those first 4 or 5 laps, get some, get by Bill Elliott, get some track position, get some guys in between myself and them, and get going.
The problem we had, that was the first time all day that we put on 2 tires, and I think Fatback made a tire pressure adjustment to sort of allow for the 2 tires. Generally, you put on 2 tires right sides, the car will push, but we knew it's going to push, so we made some adjustments, just didn't make enough of it because we just couldn't run through the corner. The car would just plow through the corner. So, maybe hindsight, maybe we'd have been better off without any tires.
We had a decent car, but them short runs, we weren't very good on a short run. It took a long run for me to be a little bit better, but we came out here with a good run. The motor ran good, the car drove good, the guy did an excellent job in the pits, and we just got to get this Dodge program a little bit better.
Starting in 1999, at least one rookie has won a race on the NASCAR Winston Cup circuit. Last year, Kevin Harvick captured his first victory in Atlanta in just his 3rd career start. The year before that, both Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Matt Kenseth captured wins, while Tony Stewart started the new trend in '99. Sterling Marlin drove to a 7th place finish and continues to lead the NASCAR Winston Cup point standings. He enjoys a 143-point advantage over Sunday's 2nd place finisher Kurt Busch. Matt Kenseth finished 20th and dropped from 2nd to 3rd this week. Kenny Wallace made his NASCAR Busch Series debut at the Martinsville Speedway in 1988 in a car owned by Dale Earnhardt, and Kenny joins us now from DEI. Kenny, before we start talking about this past weekend's races, I want you to reflect a bit on what Earnhardt meant to you.
Well, Dale Earnhardt was a legend, obviously, and I first got to meet him back in 1986, 87 when him and my brother Rusty became really good friends. And if it weren't for Dale Earnhardt, I definitely wouldn't be in the Busch Grand National Series. I think it was, 1988, Dale Earnhardt let me drive the number 3 or the number 8 Goodwrench Busch Grand National car, and I ran Martinsville, and that got me approved for Daytona. So I think what's neat is we've all stayed true to ourselves. My house is about 8 miles down the road here, and obviously behind me are thousands of race fans, so it's a really special day for everybody. It's the day after a Sunday, so it only makes sense, and we're all thinking of Dale right now.
Yes, we are. Now to the race on Sunday at California. Jimmy Johnson's crew chief, Chad Knaus, trained under Ray Evernham. Evernham won his first race with Jeff Gordon by taking only 2 tires at Charlotte and held on to beat your brother Rusty. Well, Knaus goes one better. He takes no tires and wins. How gutsy was that call?
Right, it was a gutsy call. I mean, Jimmy Johnson has been running in the top 10 all year long. I think 8 top 10s out of 10 or 11 races. I think 10. So he's been definitely cruising for a win. But I think Chad Knaus is a young crew chief who saw an opportunity to take advantage. Everybody was putting on 4 or 2 tires. He elected not to put on tires, and it won him the race. So it was a great call.
Johnson is, of course, a rookie, so he had to trust in his crew chief. Kenny, would a veteran have handled it any differently if he was told on that final stop that he wasn't getting any tires?
No, I don't think so. I think, especially on the speedways, when you're out front like Jimmy was, I mean, he had clear sail. He had nobody in front of him. He didn't have to work traffic. And as important as these tires are now with aerodynamics, the cars are so sensitive nowadays. So anybody out front on restarts, you've seen that several times. I think even Dale Jarrett did it one time. The guy out front always got a big lead. So the timing was just perfect. But I think Chad Knaus's experience, under Ray Evernham years ago, and see him make some of those gutsy calls, I think experience paid off more for Chad than it did Jimmy.
How about that hit that Dale Jr. took 134 miles an hour into the wall? What's that feel like, Kenny?
Well, Junior's hit with Kevin was, I mean, obviously Kevin didn't feel what Junior did, but it was enormous. And if he's anything like his dad, if he is hurt, he's not going to admit it. And he'll definitely be at Richmond tougher than ever. But, you know, the only thing I can explain to all the fans or anybody out there listening is when a race car driver hits the wall as hard as Junior did, it's like somebody taking a 2x4 upside your head, you know, quickly like that. You can talk all the G's you want, you know, 6 or 7 G's or anywhere between it. You know, I just tell people when you hit the wall at 50 miles an hour, just take your passenger car and run it into a brick wall at 50 miles an hour. It's incredible. So, you know, I'm happy that he's okay and was just limping around a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk Busch Series now. I'm not going to run my car into the wall at 10 miles an hour. Scott Riggs won again in the Busch Series. I guess when you consider his talent as a driver and that team's talent overall, he'll be one of the title contenders this year.
I don't think it matters what driver is in the number 10 Busch car. I think it's going to win. I think that's a strong team. The number 10, the number 57 of Jason Keller and Scott Riggs are strong. I mean, they've already won 4 races together already. So that car always prevails, and that team's strong, so it doesn't surprise me at all.
All right, Kenny, thank you very much, and we'll be talking racing again next week after Richmond.
Okay, hold on. I want all the fans on the count of 3 go crazy. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
There you go. You're a ham. You know that?
He says I'm a ham. That's all for the legend, Dale Earnhardt. Number 3, baby.
All right, thank you very much, Kenny. Checking out the current NASCAR Busch Series point standings. Jack Sprague finished 4th Saturday at California and now leads Jason Keller by 32 points. Riggs, who of course won the race, holds down the 3rd position. He's followed by Randy LaJoie, Kenny Wallace, and Greg Biffle. In IRL news, Team Menard has named P.J. Jones as the driver of its number 2 Johns Manville Menard Chevy. Jones will work as the interim driver of the car while Jacques Lazier recuperates from injuries suffered in a crash last week at Nazareth.
The way the cards fell, and I'm happy to be in this ride the rest of the season with Menards and John Mansville and the whole team. I mean, John has such a great team, great engines, great people. You know, this is probably the best shot I've ever had in open wheel cars. I mean, this is probably the first time I've really been in winning equipment.
Well, you know, this couldn't have happened at a much worse time. It's really unfortunate, but on the other hand, you know, PJ's had a world of experience running these type of cars, so we should be able to get up to speed fairly quickly, and we hope that we'll be doing well by the time qualifying comes around in a couple weeks.
Still to come on RPM tonight, our Elvis buddy puts his game face on in Bristol, and the King of Speed remembers the King of Intimidation.
RPM Tonight is brought to you by Subaru. Visit us at Subaru.com to see our full line of all-wheel drive vehicles.
Coming to the white flag, there's a leader change, and Labonte takes the lead.
And meanwhile, Ricky Rudd trying to...
Oh, and Earnhardt spins him out.
Oh, man.
And Tony Stewart is involved in the crash, as is Mark Martin, Sterling Marlin, and several others. Dale Earnhardt takes the checkered flag.
And Jimmy Spencer ran second. Bristol.
Terry got into me in the middle of 3 and 4, and I was going to get back to him and just rattle him. I wasn't going to wreck him, but I got to him and he turned him around. So didn't mean to really turn around, meant to rattle his cage, though.
Another great memory on Dale Earnhardt Day at DEI as we help them celebrate that. Of course, that memory came from the Bristol Motor Speedway, and right next door to that racetrack is the Bristol Dragway, and that's where the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series set up camp this past weekend. It wound up being a wild weekend of action as the driver who seems to have the most horsepower this season went up against the man who has the most pro stock victories.
The last time Warren Johnson met Ron Krischer in a Pro Stock final was in Atlanta 2 years ago, and Krischer beat the professor on a hole shot. This time, Johnson got the hole shot and beat Krischer for his 88th career victory. The professor becomes the 6th different Pro Stock winner this season.
Finally, I guess you'd call this one in a row. I mean, our whole crew it's just starting to gel. You know, it takes a little time. We brought on Buddy Ingersoll this year as kind of a advisor for take care of the loose ends that both myself and Derek and Reiner couldn't take care of. So I think it takes time to get, you know, they talk in round track racing chemistry, and absolutely that's what it takes. Everybody's got to do their part of the job, and we're really happy.
Whit Bazemore came into the final after suffering an oil down in the semifinal round, giving up lane choice to Gary Densham. Dencham went up in smoke, handing the victory to Bazemore. His 11th career funny car win gives him a much-needed boost to his season after 3 first-round losses in 4 events.
Oh, I'm telling you, it's just, I tell you what, these Matco guys, today was brutal, and I feel sorry for these guys all week. We've got Atlanta next weekend. They've got a lot of stuff to fix, but she stayed in one piece that run, and I bit off a big hunk on the starting line. That was probably our best run of the weekend, and Beard, those guys, they did awesome, you know. And Mac, hey, we appreciate you guys sponsoring this race. Good luck at Indy when you sponsored that. Maybe we ought to tell Matco, let you guys sponsor all the races, and we'll go ahead and try to win them all.
Larry Dixon's 3 wins so far this season gave him plenty of momentum going to Bristol. Dixon would square off against Darrell Russell in the Top Fuel final, and Dixon is still perfect versus Russell, beating him for the 6th time for his 20th career Top Fuel win.
It says a lot for everybody on the Miller Lite car. You know, this is it's one of them unbelievable things, you know. When I, dreamed about coming to work for the Snake back in 1988, I thought it would ever pan out to something like this. I mean, it's just, he's assembled quite a team, and I'm just lucky to be driving his car.
Dixon, lucky and good, now leads Kenny Bernstein by a whopping 126-point margin. John Force saw his lead shrink to just 46 over Gary Dencham, while the professor moves to 65 points in front of Jim Yates. And there's no time to rest for the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series as it takes its traveling road show to Atlanta this weekend. We'll cover all the action of the NHRA Southern Nationals, starting with qualifying on Saturday night. The NHRA Today has all the news Sunday morning, and then the elimination rounds get underway Sunday afternoon at 5:30 Eastern. All shows right here on ESPN2. This past weekend at Bristol, Bill Stevens sat down with the King of Speed to talk drag racing, and we'll have that part of the interview for you later this week. But because it is Dale Earnhardt Day, Bill also asked Kenny Bernstein about his relationship with the Intimidator.
Kenny, back in 1998, when Dale Earnhardt won the Daytona 500 for the first time, I was on the telecasting crew that weekend, and I can remember how exciting an event it was for Dale. And since you're a former NASCAR team owner, I know you go back a long way with the Earnhardts, and you and Dale had quite a relationship and probably have some great stories, too. And we're hoping maybe you could share one of those stories with us right now.
Well, you're right about that. I saw Dale here at the NASCAR race, and he came up and hugged me, and we were doing a deal with Dale Jr. In conjunction with Budweiser on the Olympic cars, and our cars were painted the same. And so he grabbed me and put us on TV and talked about it. He had a real good sense of what it took for the sponsor, and it was a great time for him. But you know, I had a lot of great conversations with Dale through the years of NASCAR. I was over there 10 years. I actually went to Dale a lot for advice in the beginning, and even towards the middle and end of our career in NASCAR. I would really ask him questions about drivers and who he thought he would put in race cars and things like that. We became very good friends, and people seemed to think that we were very similar, that we were hard charging and no fooling around and all business. But Dale had a side of him that was awful funny too and awfully good. But one time in particular that I remember that doesn't put him at the top of my list by any means at that particular day was when the Quaker State car driven by Ricky Rudd was running at North Wilkesboro, and we were leading the race and pretty much dominating. Dale's car was about the only car that could really keep up with Ricky, and sure enough, that big number 3 Black Beauty came up behind Ricky and parked him right in the wall. And I mean, it was so blatant and so obvious, a typical Dale move in those days, you know, and Ricky just went berserk, which I don't blame Ricky for doing. Ricky just waited till Dale came back around that little half-mile track and then T-boned Earnhardt and put him in the wall, took him out of the race too. And I tell you, the fans got so upset, it was brutal. They were so unhappy and so mad and hollering. We actually had to take Ricky and put him in the floorboard of a car and cover him up with a blanket to get out of there. We feared for his life. The next thing I know is I get the call from Mr. France at NASCAR in Daytona. Kenny, we'd like you and Ricky to visit us down here, and we need to talk about this little program. And we got a pretty hefty fine and a nice little talking to about it. And the reason being is because Ricky's was premeditated. He waited for him to come back around, and they didn't think that Dale was premeditated in what he did. And of course, we argued pretty hard on that. But even with that, and it really did hurt us on that particular occasion because we had a chance to win the event. You know, Dale, I never lost my friendship with Dale over that whatsoever. I did tell him what I thought about it, but we were still good friends about it.
We'll hear more from Kenny later this week about drag racing because it's NHRA week here on RPM tonight. And that means a lot of drivers will be stopping by all week long, among them Tommy Johnson Jr., Ron Capps, and Tony Pedregon, who will all be here on Tuesday night. Of course, we here at RPM tonight are joining with DEI to celebrate Dale Earnhardt Day. We head back now to Mooresville and DEI's headquarters, where Dr. Jerry Punch is with the man who helped lead Dale to 6 of his 7 championships. Jerry?
Exactly, John. And Dale Earnhardt drove this man's car for 16 years, a phenomenal effort. And you saw a little bit ago that during those 16 years, RC, he rattled a few cages and he warmed a few hearts, but he was an incredible chauffeur. What do you miss most about him? People might think it's the on-track stuff, but I got to believe it's some of the private stuff you guys did together.
You know, I miss seeing the number 3 car on the track and with Dale driving and a lot of that, but probably the personal relationship we had, calling each other, talking to, both of us, we'd have problems and stuff, and he was who I could rely on, and he would call and ask me for advice, and boy, do I need some advice this year.
You know, we talk, I know it's been a tough few weeks here with, let me ask you this, if he were here and he could walk over and talk to your boys driving those cars, what do you think he'd say to Kevin Harvick?
Well,
after he put his arm around his neck and squeezed real hard.
Yeah, he would probably give him some advice. I know he had been in some of those situations, and man, I can look back at some of the clips you were just playing on there and think of some of the fun and the great nights, like at Bristol that night we won that race, and him coming over saying what he said on the radio and said, "Hey, come on, let's go to Winter Circle. You guys got to get over here." And
that was the night Terry Labonte backed into him?
And I never did see Dale spin anybody in my eyes.
Oh, I think the fans and Terry would say that a little bit differently. I got to say, though, the last race at Talladega in October of 2000, Benny Parsons and Ned Jarrett and I were in the booth calling it for ESPN, and we went to commercial, and Benny says, "Where did he come from?" I mean, we could not believe what we were seeing with our eyes. With just a few laps to go, he comes from 18th spot and comes roaring to the front in typical Earnhardt fashion. Could you believe what you were seeing?
No, but knowing Dale, and I can't remember exactly. I know we did it there and we did it at Daytona, but he would come on and say, "If you give me 4 new tires, I'll get up to the front and win this race." And I think that was the one he did it. And to watch him come through that field, and he rubbed up the right side of the car and come up there and won the race, it was just, it was an exciting day.
You mentioned how much you miss the black number 3, and I know it's a very, very difficult subject, and a lot of people have entered into it. Do you think there will be a time in the future that we could see the 3 car back with RCR, just maybe as a tribute? Do you think that'll happen, or do you think that will not?
Well, right now, we don't have any intentions, and if it ever comes back, it won't never want to be anyone but an Earnhardt drive it.
Well, you heard it here, John. And the fans behind roar their approval. They remember the 3 car as Dale Earnhardt, the Intimidator, and that's the way they always want to remember it.
All right, Jerry, thank you very much. We're going to head back up to Dale Earnhardt Incorporated when we come back as Jerry visits with Michael Waltrip.
Labonte up high. Earnhardt uses the lap car of Rick Bass as a pick. 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. Dale Earnhardt will come to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500. Checkered flag. Dale Earnhardt finally is a champion of the Daytona 500.
That, of course, was one of the most memorable moments that I can think of from Dale Earnhardt's career. It is Dale Earnhardt Day at DEI, and Michael Waltrip, who won last year's Daytona 500 in a DEI car, is on a roll of late with 2 straight top 10 finishes. Of course, he is taking part in today's celebration and is standing by with Dr. Jerry Punch. Doc?
Thank you, John. We are with the driver of the Napa Chevrolet here, and of course he was the highest finishing of the 3 DEI cars yesterday in the Napa 500 in Fontana. And Michael, thanks for coming out and taking your time to be a part of this special day.
Oh, sure. It's great to see all the fans, man. This would mean this is cool. It'd mean a lot to Dale. I know that.
You know, after Dale lost his close friend Neil Bonnet a few years ago, he vowed he would never, ever get close to another race driver. Yet over the past few years, you two became the closest of friends. What did you admire the most about him?
Just his dedication and his perseverance. I mean, he won 7 championships, but he wanted to win the worst the 8th worse than he wanted to win the 1st. And that instilled something in me. I said, here's a man who seemingly has it all. But if he don't get to the next step, if he can't win the next race, then he's not going to be happy. So that type of perseverance, that type of determination just burned inside of me.
You know, he cared so much about you as a friend, but maybe even more importantly, he believed in you as a driver. What did that do for you?
It was so much fun to hear him tell me, not only when we finally worked it out to drive for him, but in the years that led up to it, he said, if I give you a car, if you could drive one of my cars, you'd win. You'd win. I know you would. And then when he finally gave me a car, he would say, you better win. You got this car I've been telling you about. You better win. You got to win this race. And so I just know that when he went into turn 3 at the Daytona 500, that he was so proud. You know, Dale Jr. and I were running 1-2, and he was 3rd. And it was almost the perfect ending to a storybook tale, but it didn't work out.
Well, with 2 laps to go, he kept saying on the radio to the guys in his pit, tell those knuckleheads to stay in line. Stay in line. And you and Dale Jr. did indeed stay in line, and you wanted. I know you wanted that big squeeze in victory lane, but you did something that he wanted you to do. You got in his car, and you won the Daytona 500, and that's going to always be special.
You know, I know that meant a lot to him, and I know he was very proud when I won the 125 this year because, you know, I didn't have Dale Jr. behind me or him, but I was standing on my own 2 feet, and I was able to pull that off. And Dale Jr. and I both, one of us wanted to win the Daytona 500 in 2002 as bad as we ever wanted anything. We thought it was our race because we wanted to say, you know, thanks, Dale. But I think what Dale Jr. is doing, not only winning races, but he is, in my opinion, the favorite for this championship. I know he's a couple 100 points down right now, but Tony Eury, Dale Jr., Tony Jr., all those guys that work so hard on that race car, they're a part of Dale. They came from Dale. Dale taught them everything they know, and they're gonna. I believe in my heart they're gonna contend and win this championship, and I know that that's making Dale really happy.
And you gained 3 spots in the points this past weekend, by the way. 2 is the highest finishing DEI car, finishing 10th at Napa. I'm going to ask you quickly, last week I got a chance to come over to your home and visit with you in our house call segment, and as you and I were sitting chatting, I walked into the one part of your home and to your workout room, and there in front of your treadmill, where you see it every morning, was a special plaque on the wall with a lot of pictures of a father hugging his son.
Yeah, Dale Jr., he is intelligent beyond what a lot of fans know. You know, everybody sees the wild and crazy Dale Jr., but and I'm glad he's there because he's a kid. You know, that's what he's supposed to be. But he has a lot of serious thoughts inside of him and a lot of intelligence inside of him. And at one point in his life, he decided to pen those, and he wrote down some thoughts about his father and just a very special note that he wrote to his dad. And Buffy and I decided that was something we needed to frame and to hang in our house. And when I walked by there, you know, when I was a kid growing up, I admired my brother. I watched him from afar, and I saw what he was doing, and I just thought, I want to be like him someday. And I think Dale Jr. did a whole lot of those same things with his dad. And I know when I was racing him at Talladega and running right behind him and seeing him do some of the stuff he was doing, I said, I know he watched his dad when he was growing up, because this is the stuff that I saw from him too. And so I'm so proud of Junior and what he stands for and where he comes from, and I'm real proud to be obviously a part of this wonderful organization.
Well, Michael, thank you. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Thank you, Michael. And a little later on in our show, you will see that plaque and hear those special words written by Dale Earnhardt Jr. John?
All right, Jerry, we're looking forward to that. Thank you very much. Still to come on RPM tonight, Bruno was right on target as CART visited Japan. In just 7 days, RPM Tonight will be on location at the world's most famous speedway. We're packing up the office and heading to Indianapolis. Starting next Monday at 6:30 Eastern, we'll be live at the speedway as many of the best drivers in the world take aim at the greatest spectacle in racing. RPM Tonight from the Indianapolis 500 starting next Monday. Michael Schumacher appears to be unstoppable. He won Sunday's Spanish Grand Prix after starting from the pole position. Schumi now has 4 wins this season and a total of 44 points. Has 21 better than Juan Pablo Montoya, who sits second in the standings. Pole sitter Bruno Junqueira led 54 laps to claim his second career kart win at Motegi on Saturday. Patience and pit strategy played in Junqueira's hands when he pitted on lap 190 and with just 4 to go, took the lead for good. Junqueira's win also gave engine manufacturer Toyota their first win on Japanese soil, breaking Ford's streak of 4 wins.
It's really important. First, because it's first win in Japan for Toyota. That was, I think, was the most important about this win. But for sure, 2001, when I decided to come to kart series, I never raced in a oval in my life. And after 1 year learning, that's the first oval of the year already on the pole and won the race. I'm really glad with my performance. And I hope I can still win in the ovals.
Dario Franchitti's third-place finish moved him up into the points lead, but he's just 2 points ahead of the surprising Michel Jourdain Jr., who is really clicking with Team Rahal. Michael Andretti fell back to a 16th-place finish and now sits 6th in the standings, just 12 out of the lead. Ricky Carmichael wrapped up his second straight 250cc Supercross championship Saturday night by winning in Salt Lake City. Carmichael, who switched from Kawasaki to Honda this season, wrapped up the title with still 1 event remaining. Ricky has now won, get this, 24 of the last 31 Supercross events. And while Dale Earnhardt raced only in stock cars, drivers from all over the racing world respected the man in black, and some of them got the chance to mix it up with him in person in the International Race of Champions. Among them, Indy 500 winner Eddie Cheever, who tangled with Earnhardt at Daytona in February 2001.
Lo and behold, with 3 laps to go, we're first and second. And then the hand signal stopped. So I figured when the hand signal stopped, that meant I'm first, you're second, and we're going to stay that way. And I think anybody in their right mind, especially if you're racing open wheel racing, if you have a shot at beating Earnhardt at Daytona, you take it. There is no glory in finishing second to Earnhardt in Daytona. So I tried, I went up high, he moved up high, and I clipped his car, and we both ended up down in the grass. It was my fault. I pushed him down there, and everything got out of hand. I was leading, I went on to lose the race and finish third, and I was angry myself because of that. And I wasn't even thinking of Earnhardt. That was an adversary that was gone, and the race was over. And I'm going back to the pits on the back straight. I get hit from behind, and my car starts to spin. As I'm spinning, I knew exactly who it was and what the problem was, but I thought that would be the end of it. Okay, so you spun me. Good for you. I'm sorry. Let's get on to Talladega. And as I'm coming back, there's cans bouncing off my car. I mean, I'm thinking this is... And then it dawned on me that I'm in Daytona. I just put Earnhardt in the grass, and this is not going to be good. So I get into the pits, and the crew chief tells me to stay in the car. I'm thinking, what do you mean stay in the car? And I look out my window, and here comes Earnhardt with a posse of probably 150 journalists. I've never seen so many journalists in my life. So I stay in the pits, and you could never tell with him if he was angry or if he was happy. He always had that... always had that grin. He always had that grin on. So he put his head in, and he said, get out of the car. I've never hit anybody that was in the car. By now, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to get in a fight here. I'm going to get in a fight in front of 100,000 Earnhardt fans. I'll probably get tarred and feathered by the time I leave this place. And it turned into what I thought was going to be a nightmare. I got out of the car. He asked me what happened. He joked about it, grabbed me by the back of the neck, and told me that I had better bring my good game to Talladega. And I was quite happy with that. And I think one of the saddest moments of my whole career was the next day when I was watching the Daytona 500. And I only watched the Daytona 500 because of him, to see what he could get away with. And when he died, and it was terrible. It was a great loss. Every racing fan I've ever spoke to in the States has an Earnhardt story. And I've met maybe 2 race car drivers that had the presence that he did. Senna was one of them, and he was the other, and it was a big loss. Anybody that competes in IROC has a point to prove. But I'm really sad that I didn't get to beat him in Daytona. And I'm really sad I didn't get to race him again.
Thank you, Eddie. Of course, thousands of fans have turned out on Monday for Dale Earnhardt Day at DEI to celebrate the life of the 7-time NASCAR Winston Cup champion. Perhaps the people who knew the Intimidator the best were the guys who raced and won championships with him. Here is longtime gas man Danny Chocolate Myers.
When I got here and I saw all these folks and all the memories, and it all comes back, and it's pretty darn special. But to to come down here and see all these fans and just, man, the many things we did that a lot of people don't know we did. That we would just travel together and we did so many things together. And to be able to work with your hero for all those years is a pretty special feeling.
I know there were so many remarkable things he did, but was there one that stood out in your mind that you saw him do that that you can give us sort of an abbreviated version of?
Well, you know, it's hard to pick one out of all the many things, you know, with the pass in the grass and all the things he did like that. But, you know, we went to Richmond, Virginia one time, and we're out there running. It had been raining all weekend, and they had a wreck, and Dale went through the mud, and the windshield was completely covered with mud, and he comes on the radio and he says, Richard, I got a pit, I got to clean the windshield. And Richard said, Dale, I hate to lose all that track position. And Dale says, Richard, I'm going to be off the radio for a few minutes. And I looked up in the stands and I saw everybody standing up pointing. And when Dale Earnhardt came down the front stretch, now this was under caution. It wasn't under red like the deal at Daytona this year, but when he come down the straightaway, he was sitting on the door, leaning out, cleaning the windshield himself, and I'm pretty sure we won that race. And it was just things like that. He never gave up, and he always gave 110% at least. And you know, it's just so many stories that the things that Dale did to make all of us look good.
Chocolate, I know we've all missed him these 14 months, but if he were to walk up right now and you could say one sentence to him on this special day, on his 51st birthday, what would you say to the man?
The number 10, the number 57 of Jason Keller and Scott Riggs are strong. I mean,
I guess I tell him how much I love him.
I think we all would.
Next on RPM tonight, it's back to DEI to talk to Steve Park. Be sure to check out RPM tonight, Tuesday at 6:30 Eastern, as we look at the changing of the guard in Winston Cup. Mike Dunn wraps up the weekend's action at Thunder Valley, and drag racers Ron Capps, Tommy Johnson Jr., and Tony Pedregon all stop by. You know, not only was Dale Earnhardt a great driver, but he was also a pretty good judge when it came to picking out other drivers who had a lot of talent. Among those drivers, Steve Park, who thought somebody was playing a joke on him when Earnhardt called and offered him a Busch Series ride. Well, Jerry, that ranks right up there among my favorite Earnhardt stories. How about you?
It certainly does, John, and we welcome the driver of the Pennzoil Chevrolet, Steve Park, with us. And Steve, John was just talking about that story where you ran a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race on Saturday at Watkins Glen. He was so impressed with your abilities that he decided to call you the following week and offer you the Busch Series ride. And I'll let you finish the story.
Well, he called and left a message on my answering machine when I lived in Connecticut. And at first, when I heard his voice on the machine, couldn't believe it. I just erased it and went about my business and packed some more bags and went racing again. And then he called back. And I knew it was him because he wasn't as nice as he was the first time he called. So I knew I had to look into it, and sure enough, he was looking to want to talk to me about coming to work for him. And you know, Dale has, as you can tell by all the people out here, Dale has changed the lives of so many people in such a different way, including myself. I mean, he took me from you know, the Northeast and gave me the opportunity to come down here and race, and I think we're all very thankful for that.
Indeed we are. He was a wonderful judge of talent and judge of character. Let me ask you, I know that he was adamant about trying to help young drivers. And do you remember some advice maybe he gave you, a special piece of advice you still remember when he first hired you as a driver to come run for DEI?
Yeah, I mean, believe it or not, I mean, the biggest thing I think Dale taught me was patience. And people kind of laugh like, Dale Earnhardt taught you patience? And I'm like, well, he taught me that it was so important to finish these races. They're so long, and that you have to be around at the end in order to win them. And if you ever notice, Dale very rarely crashed out of a race. I mean, he always got to the end, and always the majority of the time he won. And he kind of relayed that to us, myself and Michael and Dale Jr., that in order to win, we had to have defenders on the car and be around at the end.
You know, he meant so much to so many around here, and I know DEI has soldiered on, and Teresa's done a phenomenal job with this whole organization and setting this up today. But, you know, how difficult has it been, or how different has it been not to have him around, walking around as a mentor, as someone to bounce things off of, as a fellow driver?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate because I get to wear sunglasses and kind of hide some of the tears, but it's hard. It's been different, and Teresa, thankfully, has done such a wonderful job with her staff to celebrate Dale's life. I mean, this is his birthday, and it's all about what he's done, you know, in his lifetime. And you know, if we can even do a small amount of what he's been able to do, we'd all be successful. So it's just amazing on how much he's impacted all of our lives.
You know, he was so tough, you know, in the car and out of the car. And I watched him, you know, just endure incredible pain with that broken sternum and broken collarbone when he won single-handedly set a track record at Watkins Glen when we all were trying to convince him not to get in a car. I've got to believe he would be so proud of you for the incredible battle you waged coming back from that serious injury at Darlington last year.
I mean, it's not just myself. It's like what Dale has done, and it just shows what kind of person he is by all these people coming out here and celebrating his life with us. And like I said, I'm fighting back some tears, but he's just an amazing individual, and he's just given us so much, and that we're just so thankful for that.
Well, Steve, you were a special young man to him, and you're very special to these thousands of people who are here today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jerry.
John?
Thank you, Jerry. Next on RPM tonight, our favorite Dale Earnhardt interview moments. We welcome you back to our special coverage of Dale Earnhardt Day from DEI here on RPM Tonight. And you know, ever since the weeknight version of RPM Tonight started in 1996, the Intimidator was on the program quite a bit. So we went back through the archives in search of our best Dale Earnhardt interviews.
I can remember going to the races with my dad when I was 10, 12 years old, and that was what you was involved in. I really didn't play that much sports in school. I was always eager to get home and see what was going on with the shop, the race car, and couldn't wait to go to the next race. I'm a race car driver, and I've stayed competitive, and I started racing. My first thing in racing when I got in a race car was to want to race. I get psyched up for the 500. It's the first race of the year. We've tested, we've worked hard. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go racing. I'm down in the garage area bouncing around, seeing everything, what's going on, and the guys are all pumped up. I'm ready to go racing. It's not going to break my heart if I win 8 championships and never won the Daytona 500. 50th anniversary of NASCAR. Who would have believed I could win the Daytona 500 on the 50th anniversary of Daytona? Our 20th year here, we're going to win that championship. Anything you can have or do to be competitive more than the other guy and beat them is a part of your plan to beat them or your system to beat them. And if you can intimidate them and then they call you the intimidator, well, so be it.
Who or what intimidates Dale Earnhardt?
My wife. Don't you think a kid that's raced in Winston Cup, Bushman National Law, would know what to wear a sponsor's hat? Like, Dad does. Dad,
I'm still learning.
His big brother carries first race, and he's got a sponsor's hat on.
I'm slow learning.
Slow learning. Well, you're quick on the track yesterday, but you need to please wear the sponsor's hat. You do look around and try to not go so fast. You need to stop and say hi or say, call your mom and tell you love her before you leave town or when you get back in town. And I still don't do that enough. Be close with your wife and kids and stuff like that. Because I'm gonna tell you, I'm a lucky person. I've got a great wife, got great family, got great kids. Fortunate to have a lot of things and to be able to enjoy a lot of things probably a lot of people don't have or will never have. But it really doesn't matter what you have. As long as you got happiness and family and friends and church, and enjoy it and take advantage of that happiness. Don't let it slip away. Don't let it go by you. I hear drivers talk about we're going too fast and we're doing this and we're doing that. Well, maybe we are. Maybe we're not. Who's to say? I mean, how do you put a gauge on it? How do you slow? Do you want to race or don't you? I want to race.
Back to wrap up Dale Earnhardt Day after this.
RPM Tonight is a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to rpm.espn.com.
I'll see you Tuesday at 6:30 here in the studio. Back now to Dr. Jerry Punch. Doc?
Well, John, Dale Earnhardt may no longer bless us with a physical presence, but his remarkable spirit will always live within the millions of fans and friends whose lives he touched. Most parents understand that there is no more unconditional love than that offered by a son or daughter to their mom or dad. But sometimes it is difficult to find the words, and such was the case for the Earnhardt family. So 2 years ago, Dale Earnhardt Jr. sat down and wrote the words that describe what his dad meant to him. We leave you now with the words from the young man who wrote them, and for the first time, reads them for you. Good night, everybody.
I know a man whose hands are so calloused that gloves aren't necessary. He has suffered broken bones and never had one complaint, not to anyone, not even to himself. This man could lead the world's finest army. No fire could burn his character, no stone could break it. He gained his knowledge in hard dirt and secondhand tools. He has an incredible sense of good and bad, and he sees it before it sees him. I've seen this man create many things. With no blueprints, he has carved and produced wonders upon wonders. Solving problems is as easy as breathing for him. They are thrown his way like the morning paper. People surround him daily wanting solutions. His friendship is the greatest gift you could ever obtain. Out of all his attributes, it is the most impressive. I have had the pleasure of joining him on the battlefield, and he roams like a lion, king of his jungle. He praises God, loves his family, and enjoys his friends. He has so much to be proud of, but to this point, he's only barely satisfied. His eyes see much more than my imagination could produce. He is Dale Earnhardt. Dad, the world's finest army awaits.